You want to know what's funny about this latest selection pack? The entire goal of this selection pack is to promote these brand new Ishizu cards. These cards that are meant to be sort of crazy support for graveyard deck lists. They help you mill, they allow you to banish stuff from the graveyard, they allow you to just do all this stuff that is made for just supporting graveyard deck lists. But in the exact same selection pack, they're releasing Crystal Beast, which is a deck list that is notorious for being able to search for the ultimate graveyard cucker. Necrovalley. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get to the deck list, if you're enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially some more new selection pack content, as I have a whole bunch of deck lists planned around the new selection pack, including G Golem and Ishizu, so if you want to see any of those deck lists, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing down below. Alright, let's get into the deck list. So today's deck list is obviously going to be Crystal Beast. Now Crystal Beast in this form isn't going to be your super flashy fusion variant that summons the gigantic fusion boss monsters and aims to just smack your opponent, because that's just sort of a meme variant. That's one of those anime deck lists that realistically isn't going to take you very far on the ranked ladder. As opposed to the actual competitive variant of Crystal Beast, Conclave Control, which is what you're looking at right now. And deck lists just like this one have had various tournament toppings IRL in the OCG and in the TCG, so this is a really decent deck list. Don't expect it to be sort of top tier sprite level or anything like that, but if you want to take this all the way to Diamond 1, you certainly could. It will just take you a bit longer than if you took something like Sprite. So let me give you guys a brief rundown on basically how this deck list functions. So first of all, the deck list is basically built around your Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus. This card on summon grabs any of your Crystal Beasts from deck and places them in the Spell and Trap card zone, which will normally be your Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon. This card can banish itself from the field to add a copy of Rainbow Dragon to hand, and also special summon out a Crystal Beast from the deck, which will normally be your Cobalt for no other reason other than the fact that it's level 4, meaning you can now use these two cards to go into various different Xyz plays, go into things like Abyss Dweller or go into Zeus using your Zoodiacs, or you can just go into your Mathmech, which is what you're going to be doing most of the time. And this will lead to a bunch of sort of link plays, ending on things like Masquerena, into IP, obviously, and leading into your Apollousa. To support this playstyle, we have a whole bunch of different spell and trap cards, with most of the spell cards just generally being searches. This deck list just has a bunch of searches for searches upon searches. It's a little bit ridiculous. For example, Rainbow Bridge adds a crystal spell and trap card from your deck to your hand. Crystal Bond adds a Crystal Beast monster from your deck to your hand and also places one in your Spell and Trap card zone. Then we have your Rainbow Bridge of the Heart, which is a card that gives you an extra normal summon, allows you to destroy Crystal Beast to search for Crystal Beast Spell and Trap cards, and upon doing so will allow you to bounce one of your opponent's cards. Then we have your Awakening, which once again can also just be used as a searcher by revealing your Rainbow Dragon in hand. It can also be used to special summon a Crystal Beast monster from your deck, your hand, or from your graveyard, from your Spell and Trap card zone, which is pretty damn insane, as it can just special summon out a 3000 attack monster whenever you like, or it can even special summon out your Crystal Beast Ruby, who on summon, special summons out your entire back row, so this card could be pretty damn insane and lead to a lot of lethals. Then we have the trap cards, which is sort of where the control aspect of this deck comes from. This deck has 3 different Crystal Beast trap cards, with your main one being your Conclave, which has 2 effects. Once per turn, if any of your Crystal Beast monsters are destroyed by battle or card effect, you can simply special summon out another straight from your deck, which is pretty good considering all your Crystal Beasts will just move to the back row anyway when destroyed, so you're just going to be generating a shit ton of value. The second part of this card is you can take this card and any Crystal Beast card in the field, whether it be in the back row or the front row, return it to hand to return one of your opponent's cards to hand. Also a pretty good decent source of removal. Then we have your Miracle, which is a card that whenever a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated, just destroy a Crystal Beast you control, and if you do, negate the activation and destroy that card. If it's in the graveyard, whenever a Crystal Beast card is returned to your moved into the Spell and Trap card zone, you can grab another Crystal Beast and just place it in the Spell and Trap card zone as well. And the final one's going to be your Rainbow Bridge of Salvation, which is a card that you can ignore almost all of its effects, as the only thing you need to worry about is you can send it to the graveyard of your Foolish Burial Goods, or send it to the graveyard with your Awakening, to then activate it in the graveyard to search for any Crystal Beast monster, and a copy of Necrovalley, which is why Necrovalley is in here, as this card is very, very easily searched in this deck list, leading to a very nasty floodgate. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the deck list portion of the video. Don't worry if you missed any cards in here, as I'm going to be showing you a tutorial now on basically how to do the basic combo for this deck list. Then I'm going to be showing you a flowchart, which I think is pretty important to show for this deck list, as it's basically showing you the priority of searches for it, which will help you out a shit ton if you've never played this deck list before. Then I'll show you a couple of gameplay examples, and that'll be it for the video. So without further ado, let's get into all that stuff. Alright, let's get into this deck's only combo. So normally with Conclave control, there isn't really any sort of combos per se for the deck list, but with the Mathmech variant, there's one very specific combo you're going to be doing quite a lot, and it basically just needs one copy of Crystal Beast, Sapphire, Pegasus, and nothing else. So for this combo, pretend my entire hand is all just bricks, nothing in here works, the only thing that we care about is just the Sapphire Pegasus, so pretend we have no extenders or anything else. Alright, summon my Pegasus. Pegasus will use its effect, grab you a copy of your Crystal Beast, Rainbow Dragon thingy, whatever it's called, your Rainbow Dragon... what's his actual full name? Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon, alright. This will then give you a copy of your birdie and summon your bird to the field. So that's 2 level 4s. And give you your actual Rainbow Dragon to hand. Alright, from here, 2 level 4s on field, we can go into our Mathmech card. Summon our Albert man to the field. I don't know what this guy's actual name is, I just call him Albert all the time, so good old Albert. Alright. And detach material to add, of course, your Circular to hand. You would have seen this many times if you played against Mathmech before. Having Circular. Summon our boy Circular to the field. By putting the Sigma in the graveyard, which we'll use later on. Alright, now we can tribute the copy of our Albert. Then put our level 4 back on the field. Without summoning it, so it will banish itself, because we need to use that effect in a second. On summon, this will give us a search for our spell card, which can bring back our dude in a second. And now we can go into a copy of our Dugares. Alright, put him on the field. Alright, from here, Mr. Timeless is going to detach a couple of materials to draw 2 cards. Keep in mind, this would mean that during your next, you won't be able to actually draw during your next standby phase, or as you will skip it. But this does mean you get 2 draws now, so potential 2 extra disruptions, and you discard 1 card from your hand that you might not potentially want. So we'll attach our 2 dudes, and we're going to get rid of, let's just say, a copy of whatever this is, because we don't want it. So that's potentially 2 extra disruptions or other hand traps you just drew into. Alright, from here we can use our Equation. Equation can bring back our Circular. Then our other dude can just summon himself back. Alright, our Sigma. Putting himself straight back on the field. Alright, now we can go into a copy of our Link Disciple. And then into our other Link one, which we can then tribute, our Link Devotee. To tribute him to summon a couple more tokens, draw a card, and discard a card. Or shove a card back into the deck, sorry. Alright, now we can use our Link Disciple to tribute this dude down below. Then draw a card and shuffle one back into the deck. Alright, in this case, let's say we just don't want a copy of this dude, so we put him back in the deck. Summon our 2 tokens. And with the 2 tokens, we're going to go into an IP Masquerena. Alright, so from just 1 Crystal Beast card, we've ended with a trillion more cards in hand. We drew 2 cards from Dugares, we used our Link Disciple to draw and return back to the deck, so we've ended with potentially extra hand traps. Obviously we actually drew into a deck only 1 this time, and whatever else you potentially go into, whatever other extenders or whatever else you can go into. But for this case, we just end on this end board, we can pass to our opponent's turn. Then during their main phase, we can use the 3 cards on field to go into, of course, a nice IP Masquerena. Oh, sorry, I was meant to use blend, but there we go. Activate our IP Masquerena. And we go into anything you like. You can still go into, obviously, your Knightmare Phoenix to remove spell and trap cards. You can go into your Unicorn to shuffle back into the deck. Or, as the most common case, we're going to go into a copy of Apollousa, which is going to be a 3-mat Apollousa, protected by Masquerena's Protection from Destruction. Giving us a whole bunch of negates, and of course the billion cards in hand for whatever else we actually drew into. Alright, so now I've shown you the sort of main combo for this deck list, let me show you how to actually play the deck list, as it's going to be sort of weird to play if you've never played it before. But the easiest way for me to show you, which is something I don't normally do with this channel, is going to be showing you a flowchart, which was created by Neshi. At least I think that's who it's created by. He's literally on the screen at the moment, so I assume it's made by him, but if it wasn't, I completely apologize. But yeah, anyway, let's get into the actual flowchart. So this is how to actually sort of play this deck list. Essentially, I'm going to be showing you the priority of your searches, because in Crystal Beast, if you ever played this deck list, you'll notice that half your cards are just searches for searches upon searches, and if you don't know what to search for, it can be kind of weird. So let me just show you. Alright. So the first card you want is going to be your Pegasus. You want this every single time. Like I showed you in the last combo, it's basically your starter for the entire deck list. This is the card you want as your #1 priority. Once you have your Pegasus, you're going to need a Rainbow Dragon, which, as you saw in the last combo, is searchable off your Pegasus. Your Pegasus grabs your other Rainbow Dragon, banishes itself, gives you this card, and then you can just do your plays anyway. Next up, we're going to need a copy of your Rainbow Bridge of the Heart. This card can then search for all your other stuff and then just, go into your disruptions. So once you get this card, you can search for basically any of your other cards. You can get your Crystal Conclave, your Crystal Miracle, or even a Necrovalley. So this is also not of priority, by the way, as since the deck list is basically named, Conclave Control, you really want your Conclaves. But if you already have a copy of it, you can go into your counter trap of Crystal Miracle, or if you have a copy of that, you can go into Necrovalley, which is searchable because, of course, you can search for Awakening of the Crystal Ultimates, which can send a copy of your Rainbow Bridge of Salvation to the graveyard, which can then search for your Necrovalley. We also have Foolish Burial Goods, which can also do the exact same thing. And that's basically just the priority of how to play this deck list. You'll see during the gameplay, this is basically what you're trying to do every game. Alright, let's get into some example replays. So this first one's going to be a very, very straightforward replay in that I'm not going to be doing any sort of advanced back and forth to my opponent or anything like that. Just want to show off an example end board. The next replay will be more of a back and forth sort of for fun gameplay. Alright. So first thing we're doing, activating Crystal Bond. Seeing if he's got any Ash Blossoms. Doesn't look like he's got any. Putting my dude on the field. Banishing him, searching for my Cobalt, which his effect is negated. Adding a Rainbow Dragon to hand. Summoning my Crystal Beast Pegasus, he has an effect veiler. At this point, we don't actually care about this because we've already done our search stuff, so now we can just link these off into our Mathmech combo. Alright. Summoning out my Mathmech. Mathmech to attach, search for a copy of my Circular. Circular can then special summon himself. Of course, sending the dude to the graveyard, sending the Sigma. Shoot himself, bring back the Sigma. Giving us a search for our spell card to revive later on. See summon out into our Dugares, or however you pronounce that. Draw 2 cards, skipping our draw phase, discarding the card that we can't even use anymore. Revive 1 Mathmech. Revive the second one. Link summon off into a Link Disciple. And link summon this off into my other dude. My Devotee. Alright, we're then going to attribute to then summon 2 tokens, as well as draw and shuffle back into the deck, putting back our Rainbow Dragon. Making sure to keep this Rainbow Dragon in hand though is actually kind of useful. Especially considering we just drew a copy of our Awakening. Summon out my Masquerena, Awakening, reveal this dragon, send this trap card to the graveyard. That way I can now search for another copy of my Crystal Beast, adding a Necrovalley. Activating this way I get a double summon so I can summon an extra copy of a Crystal Beast. Set this card. Popping, adding a Miracle. Activating Necrovalley. Then setting 2 and passing. Admittedly, I could have sort of not done that pop there for a search and just kept it so I had there can be 1 on the field, but I want to do more Crystal Beast stuff, so I grabbed the Conclave and the Miracle. Alright, he's going to Imperm, targeting this. Unfortunately, I can't chain in response because he's not actually in the main phase yet, so unfortunately I had to negate there. Which is a little bit scary. Especially considering my opponent actually did absolutely nothing here. I think he tried to skip the battle phase. Now, the reason I activated Maxx there is because during my opponent's turn, or during my turn, my opponent had an activation prompt the entire time, so I assumed he had the Numeron hand trap, so I thought maybe he was playing Numeron. Turns out he didn't, or whatever he had he just wasn't using. Maybe he just had this imperm in hand and just refused to use it for some reason. Either way. Yeah, he tried to go to battle phase here, so I'm gonna instantly go out to my boss monster. So now this card's immune to destruction. And I want to use my Conclave so I can bounce some stuff if I need to. But then he just passed the turn, so I don't know. So like I said, not the most exciting replay, but shows off a very, very strong example end board and some other cool stuff. So you can actually bounce your own Necrovalley back to hand if you want to use your graveyard, which you will do with this deck list, especially using your Crystal Beast to Sapphire, who takes stuff out of the graveyard. Do my normal summon my card to the field. Miracle's going to place another card on the field. Alright, hopping, adding a copy of my Awakening. Now during the battle phase, I can swing in, activate Awakening, bringing out our little crystal dude, our ruby, summon all of our back row forward, and that is just lethal on field. And that's why, by the way, I normally try to get these cards in the back row whenever I can, whenever I get an option from my Sapphire. Because yeah, you can just sort of instantly kill someone from this. Alright, so that's the sort of more boring replay out the way. Let's go into a more exciting sort of back and forth. Alright, so this replay was against a Runic player, and this is one of my first games playing the deck, and yeah, I misplayed a little bit, but it's alright. Also, a bit of an interesting starting hand, because of, these things have massive negative synergy together, but yeah. Dimension Shifter was too important to use here to just sort of save it, considering it's Runic, and Runic hate Shifter. They cannot play through it. Well, they can try to, but they'll banish all their spell cards and graves, so their field spell's useless. I can counter actually a lot of Runic today for some reason. Not even Runic Sprite, just pure Runic. Very, very fun gameplay. I guess a good thing about this deck list is it does actually play through a lot of the generic floodgates, hence you actually running some floodgates yourself, because you just don't really care about them. Obviously, when you're under Shifter, you can't play the Mathmech side of the deck list, but as you'll see here, I don't really care too much about that. Because this deck is actually a control deck. So summon my thing, banish it, grab this dude, search my Rainbow Dragon, use my Awakening, revealing this, searching for a copy of my bridge. As you can see, following the flowchart, where we're grabbing, of course, the Crystal Beast first, trying to get a hold of the Rainbow Bridge as soon as possible. That way you can pop a card on the field, grab me a copy of my Conclave. By the way, I probably should have popped the Pegasus there, because the Pegasus would have gone to the back row, rather than just banishing my Cobalt, which I could have just left on the field. That was just kind of dumb. Just complete and utter misplay there, just whatever. So we're getting hit for a little bit. And pass back. Doesn't matter too much in the grand scheme of things, I'm just going to add the Pegasus back to hand, so... Summons an Amano. I think he tried to go to battle phase there to swing over my card, then just kind of misplayed. He forgot that he already used a Runic spell or something. Either way. Alright, so Foolish Bearer of Goods. Now I'm going to send my trap card. Now I can banish the trap card, search for my dude. Grab me a copy of my other Pegasus. Getting a Necrovalley. Necrovalley also insanely good versus this. This immediately caused him to activate everything because he's worried about the Necrovalley. Not going to activate my Crystal Miracle yet, waiting for something actually useful that he's going to activate before I do that. Probably could try to use it in response to Gozen Match, because Gozen Match is actually kind of annoying for this deck, as you'll see in a sec. So Necrovalley activated. Popping my card, adding a Crystal Bond, putting this in the back row. Returning this to hand, and returning this to hand. Reactivating, so I do a normal summon. Placing my Rainbow. Conclave activated, going to battle phase and swinging in. Yeah, I think I played this so badly. There's probably some, like, advanced Crystal Beast combos you could have done to play through all this. I think if I played this now, I would have been a bit better. Sort of, played a little bit weirdly, I think. To be fair, it wasn't my first games playing the deck list, so. Alright, he's gonna try and shuffle, of course. Necrovalley just tells him to, you know, get cucked. Puts that card back in his hand. Gains some life points and passes back. Activates Gozen again. We really don't care too much. I negate it this time. Didn't really have to, because like I showed you last turn, I can literally just bounce it if I want to. But turns out I think he actually had another one, so... That was probably a good thing I did negate it. I bounce it with this time. Alright, Sigma gonna summon himself. And during the battle phase, because one of my crystal beasts gets into battle, I can summon out my big dude straight from the hand. Honestly, there was probably some sort of like a access code talker sort of plays I could have made here if I just sort of did some other stuff and used my second summon, but it's too late in the night for that. I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm actually exceptionally tired right now. I've been awake way too damn long. Alright, swings in with the Amano. Not sure why he did that, but sure. Yeah, for me I'm not really too worried. I know I'm only at 10 cards left, but you can't activate his field spell anymore. Even if he banishes another 6, it really doesn't matter. Brings out the Gozen, brings out the Rivalry. I only need this card anyway, so go right ahead, buddy. And he's just dead on board. Alright guys, this is it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, obviously I have a bunch more videos based on the new selection pack coming out over the next couple of days. So if you want to see that, remember to like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And hope to see you guys in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.